your beard is kind of and I'm like, hey, look, you asked for this. Let it do its thing. It's a process. I likened it to puberty, where you
Okay.
have like that in between kind of awkward phase where like different parts are growing at different rates.
Yeah.
And it's like just it'll work itself out. So where we're still kind of in that phase a little bit to see how it goes. She's like, you don't need to go for like the hipster beard look. I'm like,
Right.
I don't
You
need
want
the
to be
hipster
neat.
beard. Yeah, you want to stay neat. You want to stay presentable.
Mhm.
But I think if I can get a bit more length, like kind of down into like the chin area,
Yeah.
we could try to see how that goes.
Mine, the reason that I trimmed it when I did, is that it started to grow out.
Yeah.
My face was just getting wider.
Yeah, no, and that's what was happening to mine. She's like, your face is looking more round. I'm like, what do you mean more round? She's like, well, your face is already round. I'm like, it's not round. She's like, it's round. I'm like,
your face is definitely rounder than it is
long,
narrow.
Wait,
but not in a bad way. Just like that's your natural face shape.
Well, I don't have like a football head. I'm not like that cartoon character guy.
That's what I mean. Well, no. I'm thinking vertical football, not horizontal football. We're not talking like Doug.
You know, if you're saying it's like wider than it is, what did you say? Wider than it is long?
It's wider than it is narrow. Like it's not you don't have a narrow face. You have a round face.
On the spectrum of narrow and wide faces, I'm on the wide side. Sure. Yeah. We'll go with that.
But it's not wider than it is tall. So at some point here, we had a plan for what we wanted to do this episode. I'm not sure what happened to that, but after a beard pre-show, you had an idea for an episode topic, and it was stolen. This isn't an original idea.
Is it stolen? It's adapted.
Yeah, it's definitely an adapted theme. So do you want to describe what you wanted to do and what made you decide to do it?
So I listen to a lot of technology podcasts, or just, I guess, yeah, you call them technology podcasts, usually technology/lifestyle podcasts, we'll call them.
Yeah.
And one of those being Cortex, hosted by Mike Hurley and CGP Grey. And one of the episodes they've done the past couple of weeks, I'm a little bit behind in their schedule, but I think the one they did just before the new year, they did one called State of the Apps. And it was actually their thing was actually technically stolen as well, because it was based on an article that Grey adapted from an article that Grey had written back in 2013, end of the year 2013.
2014, yeah.
Well, it was a 2014 State of the Apps written in 2013.
Right. Okay, yes, you're right.
A la car models. That was the idea for that. So they went through the apps that they use on a regular basis and kind of broke it down by category and talked about what ones they use, why they like them, what they would like to see from them, either of those same apps or of other apps, and just kind of have a conversation about how their app use has changed over time and kind of where app use is going. So it was interesting on their end because they were able to kind of look back at what Grey had written in 2013 and see how that compared to now. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of do something similar with ours, with our app usage, because I think we'll see a handful of similarities as well as differences, just because we're using our phones in different ways. And we're also, like, you using iOS primarily and myself using Android. There'll be differences that fall out of that just naturally anyway as well. So
yeah,
I thought it'd be kind of a fun kind of thing to do, kind of like a year in review / year outlook to see what's happening. And, you know, we could do it again in a year and kind of see how that changes and how the landscapes change. You actually linked something similar to what Grey had done.
Yes.
And I think around pretty much the same time as well.
Well, it was later enough that it'd be weird if one motivated the other, but it's a similar idea, but I didn't list the things I use. Well, I guess in a way I did, but I listed my favorite things. So it wasn't so much like I didn't list just the things that I used the most. I listed all the things that I used in order of how much I like them. So like, I still like Hangouts a lot. and Hangouts was at the top of my list of ways to send me a message. But I wouldn't put, despite the fact that I still like Hangouts as a platform, I would not put it anywhere near the top of my list because I don't use it. Like this wasn't with the things I use, this was what I like. If that makes any sense. Like I would put Slack at the top of my list of apps that I like the most for messaging, but I use Messenger way more than Slack.
Right. Okay. Just out of circumstance or necessity. Exactly. Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So yeah, your post was on, in an ideal world, this is what you would use the most because you like them the most.
Yes.
This exercise, I don't really know what it's going to become because as I started putting my items together, at first I approached it from an exhaustive listing standpoint, but I don't really want to go that route because that's boring. So I kind of want to do
you want to highlight things?
Highlights.
I agree.
So kind of like most used and maybe one other notable example.
I thought of a couple of criteria that would render something noteworthy for me, like noteworthy as in I'll mention it. So if I pay for something, like a service or an app, then that would make me like if I paid for it or pay for it monthly and I use it, then that would make it noteworthy for me. And
I think if you paid for something and didn't end up using it, that'd also be noteworthy.
That would be noteworthy, but not in a good way, I guess.
I'd still be interested to hear about it though.
Yeah. I don't think I've really paid for much that I don't use. That's probably a lie. I could probably actually just check. But so for me, when I was doing this exercise, it was literally just me going through the list of apps that I have installed on my phone and my tablet and my computer and writing down the ones that I actually use. So it is, the list itself is mostly exhaustive, but I probably forgot. I know I forgot at least one thing because you put Netflix on your list and my list does not have Netflix on it.
Spoilers, by the way. Jeez.
Spoilers. Millennials use Netflix.
Okay. Also, not a millennial, by the way.
Yeah. It depends on how you define it, and I define it that you are.
I do not define myself as a millennial. That's fine. That's okay.
To define yourself.
I respect that you self-identify as millennial. I do not.
Okay. So I think that we have stated our premise. And do you want to discuss, like, we're obviously not going to do every single category of apps possible, but we have some apps categories listed here. Is there one that you particularly want to start with?
Not particularly. I think social media being the most relatable to most people, because I think if anyone uses any sort of app, typically there'll be at least one social media app. So I think we could probably start there. If you don't have any objections to that.
No, that works for me.
Okay. As long as you don't feel we're giving away the farm with starting first with that.
No.
We're only 15 minutes in, so we'll want to keep people holding out. Okay, so social media wise, for the most part, is Facebook from the conventional sense of what social media is, as far as staying in touch with other people and interacting with others online and sharing your life moments and thoughts and whatnot. For myself, that's obviously, I mean, not obviously, but I don't really use that to share thoughts more than just kind of keeping up to date on what people are posting and kind of posting the odd thing myself, as far as like pictures and that kind of thing go. But as far as my actual interaction with other people, that's more done on Reddit and Twitter. So as far as Reddit goes, so from an app standpoint, I use Reddit is fun. It's an app on Android and I believe on iOS as well.
I think so. I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's one of a handful of Reddit, I guess you call it third-party clients or Reddit clients. I don't know if it's third-party, but it's just Reddit clients. Similar to how Twitter has other options that aren't issued by Twitter directly. Like Reddit does have their own app, but I believe it came after a lot of the clients because so
they bought one called Alien Blue and adapted it.
Okay.
Made it their own.
Sure. So anyway, I use Reddit as fun for Android, and then the Reddit enhancement suite on Chrome on desktop. So again, if we're staying in the app theme,
Yeah.
then I'll mention that.
Hmm.
And and yeah, so that's what I use. I like them both. They both offer all the functionality that I'd otherwise have if I was on the native Reddit site on
Sure.
desktop or on mobile. And as far as how I use Reddit, like I use it to comment on things, and a lot of people will often use Reddit just as a consumption
Hmm.
media. But I do like to post my own things and comment and that kind of thing. Like I do like that part that I don't get from Facebook, because I don't find that Facebook offers me the kind of thing that I want to participate in from a
Yeah.
discussion standpoint.
Hmm.
Uh, I guess now that I'm talking about it, I think Reddit has filled what Google Plus
Yep.
did
I
for
see
me
that for
before.
sure.
Google Plus is really good at having, finding special interest groups in a sense, and kind
Yep.
of sharing things and talking about stuff from there. And Reddit very much functions the same way. So yeah, no, I've enjoyed using Reddit, and as from an app standpoint, I spend most of my time on the Reddit is fun and RES apps
Yeah.
to consume that. Yeah, and then anything else is Facebook, staying in touch with people, and then to a lesser extent, Twitter and LinkedIn from a professional social media. But again, LinkedIn is very more just kind of staying up to date on industry stuff and what people are doing in the industry.
See, that was what intrigued me the most because at first I thought when you went through the list, you weren't even going to mention LinkedIn. And I was like, first of all, why is LinkedIn on there? And second of all, why isn't he mentioning it? Is he ashamed of his LinkedIn use? Well, how much are you using LinkedIn?
No, it's more. I do have like an industry group that I manage or administer. Like
Oh,
is
wow.
I
Okay.
mean, it used to be more active, but I don't really do anything on it now. It's just people kind of join it if they want. Um, but like though the way I use LinkedIn is just kind of staying updated on what people are doing in the industry. Like in oil and gas, LinkedIn is very much used. I don't know about
Oh,
other
really?
industries,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
yeah, oil and gas, it is actually quite heavily used. And it has helped to know what companies are doing and where, like even specific people going from one company to another. It's good to be able to stay on top of that. Like myself being a supervisor at work, it helps to kind of see what people are doing
Right.
and moving around. Like it's a pretty small world in oil and gas in Calgary.
Sure.
Um, so I use that just to kind of stay in touch with what's going on there. But again, from a social media standpoint, most of my interaction is done on Facebook when it comes to friends and family, and then Reddit for just kind of more public facing interaction.
Right. I find it so um we probably won't share this document, but we each I'm going to save I won't spoil anything, but we each use one vomit emoji in our spreadsheet in our half of the spreadsheet. And my vomit emoji was under social media. I only listed one thing under social media, and that's Facebook.
I found that the most intriguing, by the way.
Yeah.
The fact that you only listed one thing under social media.
Yeah. And we can get into that a little bit, I guess, potentially right now. Um, I don't like Facebook as a service, like the main service, because it feels like you have to sell yourself out in order to use it. I don't know if that actually makes sense. Um, the things that I post to Facebook are either from like through Twitter, so Twitter auto posting to Facebook, or Instagram auto posting to Facebook. And other than that, I'll look if I get a notification, but it feels like every time I open that app or that website, I scroll for like 3 seconds to see if anything new happened and then I close it. And I feel like I do that less and less because I only really use it because I know that, like, so when I say social media, I mean in that sense, of the sense that it's an app I use as social media to keep up with people that I follow. And the people that I follow aren't really on, like the humans that I know in real life and follow aren't really on Twitter. They're almost exclusively on Facebook. And so that's my way of kind of keeping up with their lives is through that. But in terms of my own use, it's mostly something where I dump stuff as a second thought and don't really ever kind of live there. I prefer things like, and so for instance, you mentioned Reddit under social media. I very rarely comment on things or post things on Reddit, but I read it read it with Twitter. But I don't consider that a social media app because it's mostly just a way I intake information. Same with Twitter. Like Twitter, I would say 95% of my use is just reading things. And like I might add a comment here or there. But definitely the majority of my use is just reading through.
Right. From an app standpoint, and this is maybe related to why you're not taking as much of an interest in Facebook, because what I've noticed is that, and maybe it's not specific to the app, but just the service in general, but I interface with it 99.9% of the time on the app.
Yeah.
Is I go to my main news feed and it's very obviously curated.
Yes. Yeah.
And not like person curated, like algorithm curated. And I very much dislike that.
Yeah.
Because I'll find that I'll scroll through my news feed and say I go through a streak of tapping on a couple comment threads from a specific group that I'm in, right? Or a specific person's comments or whatever. Almost like without fail, within a couple of days, I start seeing more of that in my news feed from that person or that group.
Okay.
And Facebook is well known for doing that kind of thing, trying to say, hey, you seem to take an interest in what this person's saying. Here's more of what that person's saying.
Yeah.
Or more posts from this group. And I don't like that because it takes up space that is otherwise being taken up by other people that might post more rarely.
Yeah.
But I still want to see. But as far as Facebook's concerned, what they're saying, I don't care about because I'm not clicking on their stuff.
Exactly.
Right. So I don't like that it's so dependent on that. And I saw, I don't know if it was a Medium, I think it was a Medium post a while back that someone had missed the fact that someone was hospitalized in a serious condition and then actually passed away.
Oh, wow.
And completely missed that news because this was someone they only knew over the internet. So only ever interacted with them over Facebook and only would have ever seen that news on Facebook. But this person, they posted, I guess, relatively infrequently. But when they went to the hospital, they were posting stuff and saying, hey, whatever, reaching out to people.
Yeah, of course.
And this person had no idea because it didn't pop up in their news feed. And I don't like that. Right? It's like, I guess it should be more like Twitter, and even Twitter to a point is getting worse about curating.
I have
deciding what you want to see.
Thing about that we can get to.
Okay.
But on curation. But I feel like social media for me, at least, is slowly going to bleed into news/entertainment, which is the other category we have right beside it. But yeah, I have a lot to say about the curating thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess seeing as it's maybe appropriate, we can move into that because there's, I guess, 100% overlap on the social media and news entertainment, at least between the two of our lists.
Yes.
So going into that then, from the news aspect and going into Twitter, I had in the past used Twitter to keep up on news and primarily tech news and just general world news when people start talking about something.
Sure.
But as of, I'd say, 14 months ago, does that sound about right?
That's a very specific number to be like approximately 14 months ago.
I'm thinking 12 to 18 months, but I'm pretty sure it's closer to 12. My Twitter feed became almost entirely retweets of
Calgary things?
No.
Oh.
Of United States political news.
Oh, okay.
And like it reached peak like volume during the election.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is too much. And then kind of quieted down a bit. But it's just, it got to the point where Twitter now is actually uninstalled on my phone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
because
I have to apologize because it feels like I'm personally being called out here.
Okay. So
for all the political retweets.
Full disclosure, and I don't think you actually know this.
No, I did know. You told me.
Did I tell you that I muted you?
Oh, you muted me. Okay. No, Because what I remember you telling me is that you had notifications for each one of my tweets, and I was like, "Oh God!" I felt guilty every time I
Oh
had
no,
to
no,
do it.
okay, no, sorry. I guess yeah, no. So I didn't mute. Yeah, okay. So I didn't mute you completely. So I muted the notifications I had from you. Yeah, that's
That
right. Yeah,
that
no,
seems totally reasonable. I
yeah,
would
no,
never want you to have notifications for my
yeah,
tweets.
no. I didn't because before I'd want to make sure I saw your tweets because again,
Yeah,
Twitter
yeah, exactly.
it's impossible to keep up with someone unless you go to their page, right? So it's
Yeah,
like, okay, when someone tweets, I want to know when they tweet. But then, yeah, it became a lot of
it was
retweets.
too
But anyway,
much.
that's fine. I didn't hold that against you. It's like, that's your thing, whatever.
You didn't mute me. You turned off the fire hose.
No, exactly. Okay, so it felt like muting because it was a relative muting,
Right.
like
Yes.
scale down one level. um,
Uh,
so, but okay, but before I followed like a lot of tech, or I still do follow a lot of tech people, but even their tweets became like political,
yeah.
and it's like I don't need this from everyone.
Mhm.
So as far as like I actually have SMS notifications now for when someone follows me and or mentions me.
Okay.
So then I can go like onto the browser, like onto my
Mhm.
mobile browser and just log in that way. But I didn't want, and maybe this is like I don't want to call it willpower, but when the Twitter app is on my phone and I'm
You just
bored,
click
it's
on it.
like I'll just go
Yeah.
and it's like, whoa, it's on Twitter, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, like I felt worse coming out of Twitter than I did going in, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
maybe this will change in 2 years, hopefully.
Mhm.
But as at this point, it's not worth my time to have that as
Right.
a thing I'm doing in my spare time. So anyway, coming back to what we were talking about, for
Mhm.
as far as news and entertainment goes, again, like you, I use Reddit and Twitter when,
Right.
but not anymore, at least for the time being. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
I have an interesting kind of segue slash counterpoint to your Twitter thing. And I guess what the first thing that tweaked me off thinking about that was, Wolf, obviously you mentioning that you deleted the app from your phone. But somebody said on Twitter yesterday or today that if you don't like the way your Twitter timeline looks, you're doing Twitter wrong. And along that line, a couple months ago, maybe December or so, I went through my follow list and deleted anybody that was not relevant anymore. And when I say not relevant, I'm specifically referring to the fact that I don't really follow technology's pulse as closely as I used to. And now that the 2016 US election is over, I don't need to follow like 50 political journalists and all of that. Because like I do still follow the major news sites just because I kind of want to stay on top of what's happening in the world. But I did feel like it's not that I would say that I left Twitter feeling worse than when I came, but it was just that it was so high volume and it was so much repetition. So Twitter, I think I'm going to change gears here, but I didn't actually say it. Uh, along with kind of lowering the volume of people I follow to lower the volume of tweets I see on a particular topic. Um, I actually think Twitter, the reason that I still have it on my phone and that I haven't gotten to that point yet ever in my Twitter lifetime is that I think Twitter is the app that handles curating slash algorithmic timelines the best out of any of the apps that do that. So I'm considering Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, all of those. If you're getting a call, do you want to pause?
yeah,
Okay.
if you can. Do you want to pause the recording or just let it go?
No. Just I'll
Okay.
mark it.
Okay.
Do what you
I'll
gotta
be
do.
right back.
Okay. What I'm gonna tell Mike is that the Twitter algorithm is good, and I stopped using Instagram basically entirely because of the stupid algorithmic timeline. And Reddit, I rarely just I don't like scrolling a thing mainly because you end up just getting a list of posts you've seen already because of the way the algorithm keeps older things near the top. I feel like if you've seen a story if you've scrolled through past something or like clicked on it, it should disappear when you refresh the feed, but it doesn't. And I find that kind of weird. Facebook, like I said, I put a vomit emoji next to Facebook on this list for social media. But that algorithm, I feel like, well, first of all, it also keeps things around too long. But like Mike said, there's a lot of ads that seem quite targeted, like people have talked about. But then there's also, I tend to get the highest volume people and pages who post things are the highest volume of stuff I see. And I just don't really need that. So, like I said, I mostly close Facebook 5 or 10 seconds after I open it. 95% of the time I'm using it, unless I'm like doing some specific thing or posting something. So, yeah, this sounds like this work call might be wrapping up. So we'll see. For those of you that don't know, I'll give you a future chat update, even though we're not doing that show this week. SpaceX is launching a rocket at 8 o'clock Eastern, which is in 1 hour from the time we're recording right now. And I'm very excited because it's some like secret, I don't know if it's military, but some kind of secret aircraft. They've done this a couple times before, at least once that I can think of recently in the last 3 or 4 months, where they launched a spaceship and they weren't able to show you what it actually looked like. So once the fairing deployed, they made sure not to have any cameras pointed at the main payload of the rocket, the second stage. That made it very interesting. But I don't know if they're doing attempting a recovery this time, but I'd be curious if they were, because it's always fun to watch a rocket land on its end right back on launch pad where it came from. Mike is really harshing my jam right now. I don't know when he's going to come back. What else can I tell you about? Oh yeah. My wife is having a baby in April. I haven't really put that on the internet very much, but if you look right over there, we bought a stroller today, and I'm very excited about it. I was mentioning to Mike at the beginning of the show that we have, this room is no longer my full-time office. It's now a full-time baby's room. We haven't really organized it yet. It's not coming till April, but you can see here, there's a thing here that says "You Are My Sunshine." That's for a room. These boxes and stuff are stuff we're either getting rid of or like putting away because she's coming soon. And yeah, this desk that I'm sitting at right now is going to go bye-bye because we need room for baby stuff. So I'm going to be, for future episodes, I'm definitely going to be recording at some kind of makeshift desk, which is kind of interesting. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but it will probably be in this room still, or in our other bedroom, our actual bedroom. But it's going to be a makeshift desk situation. But I'm kind of looking forward to this big life change moment. Maybe I'll take some time and tell you about things I don't think we're going to get to. What do I not think? Well, I'm going to do my speed round now. Actually, no. No, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you what the apps I have, but I would like to use more, because we're definitely not going to get to that because Mike didn't put anything good in there. So I want to use the WordPress app more for my iPad and my phone. I have an iPad keyboard, and I have a Bluetooth keyboard that I'm planning on using for my phone at some point. I really want to write more, and I found like I never really have time. So I really want to use those keyboards that I have without needing a full laptop around. I really want to use the WordPress app more. So that's my 2018 resolution in terms of this podcast, just between you and me. Mike's back. Hello.
Were you in the middle of saying something?
Definitely not. I definitely
Oh,
was not talking the entire time.
I could tell. Your lips look like they weren't talking.
I may have gone through 3 or 4 mini topics.
Okay. Okay, so you're talking about Twitter and how it does the best job at curating.
Yes.
And you're about to elaborate, probably. I'm assuming.
No, I was actually completely done. I wanted to talk about algorithmic timelines, like I mentioned, in the context of Twitter. So I think that Twitter has the best algorithmic timeline, better than Reddit, better than Facebook, better than Instagram. Are there any other ones that have really like kind of hated or loved algorithmic timelines?
I wouldn't call Reddit's
It's
algorithmic,
definitely out. Are you
but
kidding me?
it's I
Upvotes
don't.
and downvotes, that's entirely algorithmic.
But that's his premise. That's
Well,
like
no, I know it's obviously, but it still is algorithmic.
uh,
So
I
I'll get into what I mean about why I
because
don't like Reddit's algorithm because I have a reason.
you can't group that the same way though.
No, I'm not. I'm not grouping. I'm just saying these are all algorithmic timelines. Again, like the way I interact with Reddit is entirely like it's like Twitter. Like I scroll through and read the things that I find interesting.
But you specifically, at least from my understanding, you can't really influence that. Like it's not tailored. It's like this is what other people find
Yeah,
worth
yeah.
you seeing, so
It's
we're
a
gonna
different
show it to
algorithm.
you. That's not
Yeah,
even a different
it's a different
algorithm.
class of algorithms.
No, because it's dependent on the collective Reddit community, not
So,
just on you.
what would you call it if not an algorithmic timeline?
Reddit?
No, what would you call it? What kind of timeline is
I
it?
would call it Reddit. There's
Okay,
no
well,
other. It's
I,
sure there's an algorithm that
yeah,
like
that's
even
all I ask.
even chronological is algorithmic. The algorithm is put it in sequential order of when they're posted.
Right. I'm not saying the other ones aren't algorithmic. I think they're all algorithmic. Anyways, so the Reddit timeline is one that I will also mention
Okay.
after I discuss the Twitter algorithmic timeline, which is mostly chronological. So the thing that I like about Twitter, I I wouldn't say that I need the algorithmic parts of the Twitter timeline, but I appreciate the fact that I might have missed some stuff while I was away. Uh, and so I actually kind of like seeing those
Mhm.
clusters of messages.
Yep.
But for me, what makes it for Twitter is that other than those areas which are clearly delineated, as long as you're paying attention and know what you're looking for, which maybe most people don't, maybe that's the problem, um, is that other than those areas, Twitter is just chronological. Like once you get past the in case you missed it section, it picks back up where it left off and doesn't like you can see every tweet.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with something like your Facebook example, where someone posted updates about them being in the hospital and you didn't see it, that wouldn't happen with
Right.
Twitter unless you skipped it intentionally.
Right.
But you can go back and get like a show more tweets button will show up, or like there'll be a gap because you weren't there, but you can always go back and see everything.
Right.
Yeah,
On
that's
a
what I like about Twitter.
slight tangent or side note, the only way to get around Facebook's thing, and the way that one of my family members in Ontario does it, is goes to each individual person's page that they want to catch up on and scroll through their news feed, their personal news feed. So like, because she only uses it like once a week. Like I think she has like a Facebook day, and she'll like, I mean, like not she doesn't spend all day doing it. No, she doesn't spend all day doing it, but she'll sit down and catch up on Facebook, right? Once a week. Yeah. And she'll go to each person's page, and you see it in your notification. She'll comment on like 3 or 4 things in a row, which is like, that's cool. Like if you want to see what people are up to, that's the best way to do it is go to each page and see what it looks like. And you get around the algorithm doing that because you're not relying on the news feed to show you what you want to see or what you think that you need to be seeing.
Right.
But I think for most people that would be very monotonous and time consuming, like because most people use Facebook more or less daily or multiple times a day. So to click around on every person's page every time you go in, like that'd be crazy.
Yeah. So can I tell you, I have one, at least on the desktop version of Facebook, I have a way to get around the algorithm. I don't know if it gets around it entirely, but it at least gets around the annoyingness of having random things from 2 days ago pop up. So my Facebook bookmark, is actually to the most recent, not the top stories version of the timeline.
Right.
So it's literally showing me the most recent stuff that has come up on the people that I've decided I want to see.
Right.
As opposed to filtering things based on what it thinks I want to see the most.
I presume there is still some level of filtering with that.
There is, but I think it's almost entirely chosen by me. Like I have decided who I want to, what posts I want to see with priority. I've decided which people I don't want to see anything from, because Facebook now does give you that kind of granularity. I'm sure I'm not seeing every single thing, and that's not great, but this is better, definitely better for me than seeing like 8 minutes ago, 2 hours ago, 4 days ago, 8 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago.
So does the most recent, does that still bump posts that are still being commented on?
Yes. Yeah. So the updates, like if someone just commented, it'll bump that too.
Okay. Because I do like that part of Facebook, because there are times where if there's one that I haven't commented on and I don't want to get notifications for it, but I can see that it's still being talked about, then it will still stay in my news feed, which is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not great that it does a lot of selective authoritative filtering.
Yeah.
From that
so the other feature, which kind of gets back to your family member who uses Facebook to just check on people's pages, I'm going to use your page here as an example because I have it up on my phone. So
don't dox me.
No, this isn't the same. Your name is Mike Attrell. This is not the same, I don't believe, on desktop. But if I go to your page, I see your cover photo, your profile, your name, all the regular buttons like that you're from a city in a province. I can write something to you right away. Then I see a full page section of your photos. Then I see a full page section of your friends, along with which ones we have in common. Then I finally see the first post. Like it takes me scrolling through 3 screen lengths before I actually see something that you posted. And for things like Facebook pages, it's even worse. There could be like 8 or 9 sections before you actually get to the posts. I don't understand why they made that decision, but if I was ever going to try to do that with even like 5 people on Facebook, with like going to their page and just looking at it, that would get so frustrating, having to scroll past all that stuff that I don't know who wants to see that before the stuff they posted.
Well, I presume it's better on desktop because you see more all at once. You could check right now if you wanted, but
I will.
I don't care enough to check myself.
Well, because the photos and friends at that point are then in the sidebar.
Maybe, yeah, sure. That makes sense, and I think even some of the about details are in the sidebar as well.
Yep.
Anyway, I think that covers news entertainment enough. Like neither of us use any of the native news network apps or anything like that. So we basically both rely on our society to tell us what is important, which I think is generally good. Like if you turn on the local news and you hear about 5 robberies and 3 shootings, like, okay, there's crime. Thanks. Like, but I think the important stuff, it will make its way into your filter bubble.
I do use Apple News sometimes, but it's very infrequent. Like I mostly use it as a thing that sends me notifications about headlines sometimes, but I probably go in there maybe once every few days.
Right.
I did want to actually mention, so you deleted Twitter.
Yes.
And you don't use the native Reddit app, their app.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Is that just because you used Reddit is fun first, and like you know it?
Yes, I think I used Reddit is fun before the Reddit app came out. Then I tried the Reddit app, and I think
the same.
There was something. What was it? Like it is a different experience to use the 2 different apps. I don't recall why I like the Reddit is fun better.
Okay,
but I know I do. Actually, you know what it was? I think I have to look back. I don't know. Like there are features of the Reddit is fun app that I do like, and just the fact that it is like a non-affiliated app, that is, I like doing that if
You
I
like
can.
that better? Interesting.
Maybe, I don't know.
Because I always feel like if there's an official app to do something, I always want that app. So when Reddit acquired Alien Blue, first of all, the app worked similarly to the way Alien Blue did. Um, I recommend, just in general, not just to you, that if a company has an app that you think you should like in an ideal world, you would like it the best and use it the best. Like I would say for the Twitter client, the actual Twitter client made by Twitter, and the actual Reddit client made by Reddit, and like the actual YouTube app made by YouTube, for like all these examples. I would recommend every 3 or 6 months or whatever that you go back and try the new updated version, because they're constantly adding new things. Like the way the Reddit app collapses threads now is really useful. Like you just have to swipe, at least on iOS. I don't know how it is on Android, but you just have to swipe across a thread and it will just collapse the entire thing. You don't have to like try to hit some kind of tiny tap target or anything like that.
Okay.
It's a recommendation. Like I'm not saying you have to use it, but I always feel like go back and try it. Just see what it's like now.
My approach has been, if I would or am missing something by not using the official one, then I'll usually give the official one a chance. Like with Twitter,
Right.
the main example being polls. Like that's
Right.
like the categorical example of something that's only supported by the official app. Like every client, they either hack their way to kind of showing polls kind of, or just not showing them at all.
Yep.
And some people tolerate not interacting with the polls, but
Yeah.
I think polls are worth at least being aware of if you're going to use Twitter. Maybe you don't care, but I think that's an example of something that you would be missing if you didn't use the official client. So, I mean, I don't know. I can't recall off the top of my head what other features. I think a lot of the other features that the clients that the official app doesn't support is stuff like other types of filtering or just column views, like a lot of that kind of stuff that the Twitter app official client doesn't. But again, if you're not going to use that anyway, then you wouldn't care, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that was like almost our entire show, and we got through 2 categories.
Yep. They're important ones.
They are. What other do we want to talk about?
I would be interested to talk about media. And I think storage and productivity might go hand in hand. At least for me, they think they do. I don't know. Is there any topic that you particularly want to talk about?
Why don't we? Sure. Let's talk about media, because I think there's some good points there that we might want to bring up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you want to start then?
Sure. Okay. So for video, YouTube, obviously, Netflix, obviously. Semi-related, I use the Google Home app on Android for Chromecast use. So we have a smart TV in our bedroom and a smart DVD player in the downstairs living room. This is pre-Chromecast age.
DVD player.
Or sorry, Blu-ray. Blu-ray player.
Wow.
I know. We went all out on that one. Yeah, very fancy. That this was before the Chromecast was released. So, I mean, there was no other option for direct to TV streaming type stuff without hooking up your laptop, I guess. So we used that for a bit, but then the smart TV Netflix app became very shaky and often would sign you out every time you use it, and it would freeze and you have to get restarted and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I think we should just have a Chromecast. I bought a Chromecast, the first gen, a while back. We never really used it. But then once the TV upstairs, it started not being reliable for staying logged into Netflix. I'm like, it's worth the $35 to not have to sign in every time on a little remote. So I picked up a second gen Chromecast to use upstairs. So the first gen one is downstairs for when we want to stream music or photos or whatever downstairs in the living room. So I got a second one for the bedroom. And so we're using that now for Netflix and YouTube and whatever it is we're going to watch upstairs. So that's been really nice. Like there's been times where Maria wants to show me a YouTube video. I'm like, just put it on the Chromecast. It's like, oh yeah. So, no, we like that. And I included Facebook for media as well
Yeah, I noticed that.
because I don't think it would be fair to not include it because a lot of my video consumption actually now occurs on Facebook.
Huh.
Like there's a couple pages I follow that that post videos like Vox, like Munchies, like they'll post like original content
Yeah.
and their native Facebook videos.
Hmm?
So they either autoplay in silent in my news feed and I'll
Yes.
watch it. And like that counts as media. Like that counts as video
It does.
consumption. It's
Yep.
silent and you're just passively watching it. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm not counting once I just immediately scroll past, but if I
Right.
stop and watch it for 15 seconds and read the captions, like that counts as media consumption. So
Hmm.
I'm going to include it in my media
Yeah.
category.
Yeah.
Uh, and like even today, I actually like turned on the volume on one because I wanted to watch it, which is
Right.
like crazy. Like I don't know, but I actually do appreciate how Facebook has handled the video posting. Like aside from being very hostile toward other video platforms, to
Yes.
say the least, when you play along with their system, like it does work.
Hmm.
Especially when it comes to the silent videos, like I think I've seen memes around where it's like, oh, I learned all my cooking from like silent videos with captions. Like that
Yeah.
that's like the what everyone sees in their feeds now, like
Mhm.
especially with like reshared ones and that kind of stuff. But no, I have been finding myself watching more Facebook media content. And again, that's based on my own Facebook subscriptions or following or whatever you want to call it. Um, that does take up some of my media consumption attention. So that's the video, and then audio wise, there's Pocket Casts on Android for podcasts as a podcatcher,
Mhm.
Spotify for music, and Audible for audiobooks when I listen to them. That one I don't pay for anymore, or at least don't
Okay.
have any sort of subscription. Or I think I have a couple books that I still need to read.
Okay.
I think I've mentioned it before, but I was on a monthly subscription and then I let it lapse, or not lapse, but I let it roll over to another month and it gave
Right.
me more credits. I'm like, oh, now I've got to buy more books. So I think I have at least one more book, if not two,
Yep.
that I still
Yeah.
need to listen to. So I do find that I like breaking up my podcast listening schedule with an audiobook
Okay.
every couple months just to kind of take a break and have a change. But right now I'm trying to stay up to date on my podcasts. So
Mhm.
and I do like the Pocket Casts app. It's very very user friendly. It's easy to use. I actually just started, talk about apps that you pay for. I
Yeah.
just paid
Yeah.
for the Pocket Casts. It's a one-time payment to sync to your desktop. So if you want to listen from a browser, you can do that. And there have been times where my Android phone runs out of battery and I still want to listen to podcasts in the car. So
Right.
and like iOS, I think actually now that I think about it, I don't know if iOS has a Pocket Cast app, but in any case,
I
I
think
don't
so.
think it would sync to it.
It should. I would think it would.
But I think what I was trying to say is like Pocket Cast only syncs locally, like your progress.
Okay.
Again, from my understanding and recollection.
I would think it probably syncs. I would think that's very weird if it doesn't.
But that's where the payment part comes in because paying allows it to sync to the
Right.
desktop. But I can't say for sure if it's between different devices as well.
I would say if you're paying, almost definitely, like it's $5.49 on iOS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's securely stored in the cloud. You can pick up where you left off on another device and the web.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's the paid level though.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Well,
it
this
wouldn't
is
do that.
$5.49
Right.
straight up.
Yep. Yeah. But otherwise, it's free if you don't need or want the syncing.
Oh no, I'm saying like the iOS version is $5.49.
Oh, it's not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
free at all. There's no free version.
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
Different
there's
different models. Yeah.
right. So there's a free Android version that you can
Mhm.
pay that same $5 to get the syncing, and I guess in the iOS case, it's $5 regardless. Like you don't have the
Yeah.
free option. So, but yeah, I just started paying for that just because I use the app and I want to support the development of it. Like I honestly don't have a very common use of needing the synced progress, but the cases I do, it would be nice to be able to have that.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, like I don't really have many other comments about the apps that I use. Like YouTube and Netflix, they are what they are.
Mhm.
I don't like how Netflix has so many, depending on where you use it. Because again, I mentioned I have the smart TV and the DVD player, and oh, Apple TV too. I have the Apple TV, which I use Netflix on,
Okay.
and that one, again, all 4 app versions, the UI is all different,
Right.
and some show your episode progress and some don't.
Huh. Okay.
So like on a lot of Emma's shows, like she watches a lot of shows repeatedly, like episodes repeatedly, but I want to know where she left off because she likes to pick up where she left off, but I have to guess which episode she left off on, whether it says resume playing or it just starts playing a new episode.
Right.
But if it has a little red bar at the bottom to show how far in you are, I can tell where she left off. So that would be nice if they did that across all devices. But from what I can tell, the only one they do that on is their mobile app. Like on the phone, it shows the progress, but the other ones they don't.
Right.
So it's kind of irritating.
Yeah.
And I mean, YouTube is fine. No complaints. I would highly recommend YouTube as an app to use.
So if we're talking about YouTube, you have one more here that you didn't list that I'm intrigued. I don't know if you just skipped it, but
which one?
The YouTube, I would say YouTube, please make YouTube Red available in other countries in the US, because I will pay for YouTube Red just to support the people whose videos I watch. I'm kind of sad it's not here because I want to be able to download videos offline to be able to watch them when I don't have connectivity, among other things. I
am signing that petition right now.
Yes. 2-person petition. You missed Spotify. You didn't ever.
I did say Spotify. I said Spotify.
You just said the word Spotify?
I very quickly mentioned it in the same breath as Pocket Cast. And
okay. But you didn't have any more on it. Just that's the one you use.
I guess. Okay. So we're talking about paying. Like I pay for Spotify. I don't like ads, and we have a family account, so it makes sense to pay for it. The different profiles. I mean, it's good. Like I don't listen to music a ton, but it does seem to do a good job of putting together music that I might not dislike.
Right.
Yeah. And it hasn't seemed to be affected by my Christmas music listening, thankfully.
That seems like an algorithmic thing. Like
I would think it would be.
December 26th, stop recommending Christmas music.
No, I mean, if you're listening to Christmas music, don't have that affect your usual recommendations.
Sure.
That's what I mean.
Until
until a certain point, maybe. Like if you're listening to Christmas music in March, then maybe they're like, maybe this person just likes Christmas music.
Yeah. On my end, so you mentioned Facebook as being an app used for video consumption.
Yeah.
I would say that the only time I ever see a video on Facebook is when I'm flipping past it. Or the one exception, which happened a couple times last year, if I went to YouTube and last week tonight was geo-blocked, which happened again, let me pay for YouTube Red, let me watch videos that are in different regions. That's actually on last week tonight itself, so I don't know why they did that, but they wouldn't let you watch videos that were on their channel for like 4 weeks after they came out, except if you're in the US. That seems like a weird distinction. But the only time I ever see video on Facebook is when I'm scrolling past it. I haven't seen maybe I just follow the wrong pages, or like I don't use Facebook for that, but I've never seen a video that wasn't just like some spammy reshare or repost or something. And they just have not been, I don't want to see a recipe being made from above. That just doesn't interest me that much. And so I scroll past every video on Facebook.
Okay. I'll tell you, for the recipe ones, they're usually like, say like carbonara, right? And you just know that there's gonna be comments being like, this is not carbonara, or like, I can't believe they use so much cream, or like just something. And I find that, I wouldn't say entertaining, but it
seems like you're entertained by it.
Okay, so it's like Reddit threads, right? You see like the r/food, and you see like a deep dish pizza. It's like, you know what the comments are gonna be, and it's I guess it's entertainment.
I guess
like, I don't get a thrill out of it, but it's like, it's something to look at, something to read.
Yeah. You mentioned like seeing a Vox video on Facebook. Yeah. I just subscribe to Vox on YouTube, so I see like it's the same. They post all the same stuff there.
Sure.
Yeah. I like YouTube, other than the fact that I've recently started using my brother-in-law's Netflix account, because I guess he doesn't use it that much, but Julia uses it quite a bit. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll use it if we're not going to get our own. Like, I haven't paid for my own.
Right. Yeah,
But
I
I've been
remember you saying
watching.
you jump between the free
Yeah,
subscriptions. Yeah.
I did that for, well, every time they offer me one, I just sign up for a free month and watch whatever original content. But lately, I've just
Right.
been rewatching old shows that they happen to have, like The Office. Um, but yeah, I didn't even put Netflix on my list because it didn't even really occur to me to be on there. So YouTube for video, I use Overcast as my podcast player. It also syncs to the web, but I almost never actually use that feature. I don't know. I pay for Overcast as well. It's $10.99 or something a year, not a month. Just the premium subscription. There's not really anything you get out of that. There are features that are unlocked by it, but I don't really.
Right.
They're not
supporting development.
Yeah, it's supporting the independent developer. So Marco Arment, who makes it, listens to
Not a friend of the show.
No, well, he's a friend of the show. He's not an enemy of the show.
He's a friend in our hearts.
I have tweeted to him and he has responded.
Okay.
We are best friends.
Basically friend. Yeah, exactly.
So I pay for that every year. Like I said, mostly just to support him. I listen to his other podcasts and get a lot out of them, both Under the Radar and ATP, the lesser known one, ATP.
You say that like there is only podcasts.
Are they not his only podcasts?
Nope. He's got Top 4, is it?
Oh yeah, Top 4. You're right. You're right. I do subscribe to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
He used to have. I thought you were talking about Build and Analyze, his old show, which I have listened to a few episodes of. But, yeah, I don't ever really buy anything or get anything from their sponsors. So I feel like this is my one way of contributing in what little way I can.
Right.
For music, because I'm exclusively on devices that have either iTunes or Apple Music on them, I use Apple Music. I'm also on a family account. I don't know if you know this, but Spotify, I'm sure you do. You have to lie and say you are living at the same address to use a Spotify family account.
Rob, who would ever lie about that?
My sister made me perjure myself to say that.
Believe that Maria's sister does in fact live in our house.
That makes perfect sense.
Let the record show.
So there are 6 of us in my Apple Music family. There's no requirement that we live in the same house, and we do not. We live vastly different. We are more of a emotional family than we are a blood related, genetic related family.
A spiritual family.
Yes. So there are 6 of us on that. I don't listen to music nearly as much as I used to. But for me, the reason to have Apple Music is more like if I didn't pay for it and I never listened to any music ever, my life wouldn't really be drastically different. I might be like, oh, a new album came out from someone I really like. Maybe I'll hear it somewhere or whatever. Maybe I'll pirate it. But even though I don't pirate anything anymore, never did. So with Apple Music, the thing that I like about it is that you can just, if you hear something came out, or if you hear there's a new song by this person or whatever, you can literally just ask Siri or go find it and play it instantly. Like you can just, with any song that has ever existed in the world, as long as the person had enough sense or knowledge to put it on the store, you can just go listen to it.
You're talking Apple Music. I thought we were talking about Spotify still, because Spotify is very much the same way. Like I don't think I've ever not found what I was looking for on Spotify, with the exception of Taylor Swift, which was
that brief period where
prior, like way back when she just wasn't on Spotify, and her last album was a delayed release on Spotify, right? Yeah. So, but otherwise, if I'm looking for a certain artist, like it's there. Though they don't have, like, I've looked for Red Hot Chili Peppers as well as Radiohead's like greatest hits albums, and they don't seem to show up there as albums. Weird. So maybe I'm searching wrong, like not putting the right keywords, but I put in like Red Hot Chili Peppers greatest hits because I had a CD of that and I liked the songs on it, and so I was looking for it, but they didn't seem to have it. So I usually just listen to Stadium Arcadium because I'm a horrible person apparently and think that's a good album. But no, I've been happy with Spotify's library for the most part.
Okay. Yeah. The only thing that I mean, like I said, I have iOS devices or things that have iTunes on them. So for me, it makes sense to have Apple Music because the only thing that does come up with the difference that I've seen between Apple Music and Spotify is that Apple Music will get exclusive releases where for a week after the album comes out, it will be exclusively on Apple and then it'll go to other platforms unless you're going to buy the CD. That's the only exception to that is artists affiliated with Tidal, Jay-Z's streaming service, where I think for a while all of Jay-Z's albums were just removed from all other streaming services. Beyonce's album I still don't think is available on any streaming service besides Tidal, her last album.
Hmm.
But other than that, the exclusives typically go to iTunes / Apple Music. But they're like you said, they're generally just a week or something like that, some right. Short period. So turns out we're both, although slightly different other than YouTube and Netflix, we're both very basic when it comes to podcast players and music players. There are a couple apps. Did you finish Gray and Mike's?
Yes, I did.
Episode?
Yeah.
So when Gray at the end gave a shout out to the video app that he recommended, Filmic Pro.
Yeah. No, I saw you listed that. I was like, oh yeah, that's.
I was just like, wow, that's the app that I use. We use the same.
I was actually wondering, I'm like, I should mention to Rob this app because it sounds like something he'd find use out of.
Professional YouTuber CGP Gray and Rob use the same video production tools for their iPhone.
Yeah.
That is one of the apps that I paid for. I paid for it a long time ago, and it continues to get better and better and better. They released. They had a remote thing which allowed you to use a second device to control video playback on the main one. It got a lot better with the last major round of updates they had, which was maybe 9 months ago. But so I'll second Gray's recommendation. If you like making videos on your phone and don't want to have to deal with just the basic function that the videos app gives you, or not the videos, the camera app and the video setting, I highly recommend Filmic Pro. It's super professional. There's lots of features that are even way too professional for me. You can lock things like exposure and white balance and focus. You can switch. You can zoom in. Like you can do, rather than having to pinch to zoom or use a sliding scale, you can actually control the zoom slowly with your thumb. It's hard to explain, but you'd have to go and try it. But you can, in the same way that on an old timey camcorder, you could zoom in or zoom out, and you just hold the thing down, and it'll slowly zoom in until it gets to its maximum zoom level.
I'll mention, and maybe this is different on iOS, but when I'm recording video on my Note 4, the zoom is controlled with the volume buttons, and it functions that way. That you zoom in with the volume up, and it does that like old timey video zooming. Right. It's cool. Like I like that effect because you can kind of pan and zoom at the same time, and it's it's not jittery like the way that a thumb would have to be, or a pinch to zoom would be, right? Yeah. So you'd mentioned that now. I'm like, I thought that you could do that with everything, but I guess
on iOS, the volume button, I believe both volume up and volume down control the shutter / start stop recording function.
Okay. So, then that being said, on my phone, you can change that setting. Okay. So there's a way to use the volume button for shutter.
Right.
Though, if you're doing video, like, why would you need the shutter control?
Shutter / start or stop recording.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but like Filmic Pro, honestly, if you make videos and don't use it yet or don't know about it, I seriously recommend checking it out. It has my full endorsement for the last few years. The one thing that, so for all the simplicity of the iOS camera app, it's incredible. Like it's too simple if you're doing anything more than like wanting to take a video clip and share it immediately. If you want to do any kind of editing, it uses variable frame rate, which is great for compressing and saving space, but is absolutely awful if you want to do anything with that video because you never know how many frames there are going to be. So audio and video get out of sync super easily. If you try to export it or import it into a video editing program, and Filmic Pro allows you to actually control the frame rate very specifically of both the audio and the video. So you can set things to 24 frames a second. You can use 30 frames a second. You can go up in increments up to 240, like up to whatever maximum it supports. My iPhone camera supports up to 4K video, so you can go all the way up and control the quality level to the best possible. It's got video stabilization, all this stuff built into the app. Like I said, way too many power features for anybody to ever need, but yeah, extremely powerful, great. The last video media app that I'll mention is the other part of my making videos, like taking videos and with my phone and creating longer videos of them with them is an app called Wireless Transfer. It's available for iOS and Android, and there's a PC little client that you install. I'll have to put a link to it, but if you search for the Wireless Transfer, it's one of the first things that comes up. It's just a free app.
Really? For such a generic name of wireless transfer, I'm surprised it would rank that highly. Because I was actually just about to make a joke about like, wow, what a unique name. That's very descriptive. I'm sure very easy to find. But I mean, if you're saying that it's easy to find, then
well, like if you search for it, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things that would come up on the web. But if I just search for
you're talking in the App Store.
Yeah, in the App Store.
Oh, okay. No, yeah. If you search on the web like wireless transfer app, like you probably wouldn't.
Yeah, it's the third result if I search for wireless transfer.
Right.
I've tried the first and second, and they're either you have to pay for the more powerful features, and I don't really trust them because they look kind of weird. But I have really good things to say about the wireless transfer app. You basically just open it on your phone, open it on your desktop. It'll pop open the list of videos, and then you hit transfer, and like up to like I've transferred like 15 gigabytes of video files all at once, and it takes the appropriate amount of time, but it's super consistent and is much better than ever having to plug in your phone to transfer things. And if you're not wanting to deal with waiting for a cloud service to upload and then download your things, it'll just transfer it straight over Wi-Fi as fast as your network can handle it. It's very good.
So for those people who don't have SD card capability on their phones,
I can't think of a single modern phone that has an SD card on it, but that's fine.
I can think of a lot that do.
No, I can think of one, a modern one. I think it's just like
maybe not modern. But yeah, the Galaxy line of phones, historically has had SD card capability, so that's nice. But yeah, no, it's not commonly found in the modern phone, so definitely good to have something to use. Yeah. And speaking of file transfer and storage. Basically Google for me.
Yeah.
Google Drive and Photos. It's I was on the Dropbox 2 gigabyte free storage train for my formative years. Plus the credits. Yeah. But then I saw the light of Google Drive. Well, they reeled me in with the free 15.
Yes.
That was nice. And then I was like, man, I need more than 15. What? It's only a couple bucks a month for 100?
Yeah.
And so add another to the list of paid services, and you have basically everything that I need.
Yeah.
As far as photos and file management. Like Backblaze and that kind of thing, like I don't have a use for, because all of my file storage is managed within Google Drive. Like it's all backed up already. I don't need
you do that diligently, sure.
Okay. I feel like recently I had to, oh no, that was my phone that I factory reset.
Right.
But like my computer, like I wouldn't lose anything because everything's in my Drive folder.
I guess for me, the thing that I can't back up to Drive is like my raw footage and clips from podcasts and videos that I do. Like it's just terabytes and terabytes of stuff. Like it would cost me inordinate amounts. Like it cost me $399 a month to back it all up to Google Drive.
What?
Like
are you
30
serious?
terabytes. 30 terabytes is $299 a month to back up.
Wait, $299 a month?
Yeah, for 30 terabytes of Google Drive backup.
So their top tier isn't like 10 terabytes plus? It's like it scales up with
past
that? Oh, wow.
It doesn't scale. Yeah, after 10, I think 10 terabytes is $100, and then it just continues linearly to
That's what I
30.
mean. I would have thought it would be like 10 plus. So
Well,
at least
at
if you're
that scale, they'll be like, okay, we'll use Google Cloud Storage or use Amazon S3 or
mm,
use Azure or something.
right.
Yeah. So yeah, do you now, when it was probably 2 or 3 years ago now at Google I/O, where they announced Google Photos unlimited storage.
Yep.
Are you on now that you're paid, are you unlimited regular size photos, or are you full size free or
So
full size paid for?
their full size, sorry, the free cutoff, the free
Mhm.
size cutoff is over the size of my camera on my phone.
Right. Okay.
So I don't need anything higher.
Okay.
If I ever found that I needed higher, like if I got,
A
because
DSLR or something.
because their free cutoff is like
16 megabytes. 16 megapixels, sorry.
Is it 16? I thought it was like 8. Is it 16?
16. Yep.
Oh, yeah. So that when would I ever have a camera that takes over 16
DSLR.
megapixel pictures? Well,
That's
I
the use
guess.
case. Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, I'd never need anything more than the free. I think when I first started paying, I was like, oh, I've got gigabytes and gigabytes of storage. And
Mhm.
then I started filling up like, maybe I should just flip the switch on the free selection, because I don't actually need and I wish you could do the full size as a conditional.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
if it's over this amount, then still upload it free.
Mhm.
Like still upload it at full resolution.
Yeah.
Not because if you flip the full resolution switch is upload everything at full resolution, it considers everything as taking up storage.
Yeah. And like that's one of those things where, like, when I said every 3 or 6 months, check back and make sure that's still the case. It probably still is, but it's one of the things where you're like, you're shooting yourself in the foot here, Google. If you just gave people the option to have only the photos that are bigger count towards the limit, then you'd probably get more customers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I'm also on that same tier with Google Drive / Google Photos. Basically the exact same setup as you. I try to keep everything I possibly can in Google Drive, with the exception of, I'll mention Backblaze now because we're talking about storage. I just pay to have, and this mostly for my external drive, like almost entirely for my external drive, just to pay to have it backed up. Peace of mind that my project files are not going to just disappear if there's some spark that flashes my hard drive. Recently I started paying for, actually it's probably almost a year now, I started paying for iCloud Drive. So that pitiful free service gives you 5 gigabytes free per month, or sorry, not per device, it's not per month either. It's 5 free gigabytes total per Apple ID, which is ridiculous. Like, it's literally nothing. If you have an iPad and a phone, you can't keep 30 days worth of pictures on it, which is what they would otherwise keep for you. It's pitiful how small that 5 gigabytes free is. So I started paying, it's $3.49 for 100. I think it's 99 cents for 20 or 50 gigabytes, and then 99 or $3.49 for 100. So I'm paying $3.49. Maybe it's 200. I'm actually going to check, because this is just me rambling on. That was the nice thing about iCloud storage is, as I mentioned, we're in an Apple Music family, which also extends to iCloud. And so good thing I got 2-factor authentication on here just to screw me up.
So why do you need the iCloud Drive storage in addition to the Google Drive and Photos?
So it's backing up devices.
Okay.
So the easy way to have my 264 gigabyte devices back up is, so I don't necessarily back up everything, but keeping photos backed up, along with keeping my 2 devices and Julia's 2 devices all backed up, is like entirely worth it for me.
Right.
That's actually potentially, I always go to the web client for iCloud Drive because I'm like, oh, that'll help. That'll tell me all I need to know. But it's actually, the web interface is terrible. I have, 200 gigabytes for the I think it's $3.49. It's not going to tell me the price. There it is. This is riveting. $399 a month. I think it's $349 in the US. But before that, it was 50 gigabytes for $1. And I thought at this point, why not just, we have a family, why not just go all out? So now I'm using 40 gigabytes of that 200, and I have 4 devices backed up to it.
But those have to be devices under the same Apple ID?
They have to be devices under the same Apple family.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're in the Apple Music family already, it just makes sense to extend that.
Gotcha.
So that's been super convenient for me because it means I don't ever have to run up against things saying my free storage has been exceeded and it's no longer going to back up my devices. It's just really frustrating to have that. And having a backup is something you actively want. So in this case, Apple's upsell kind of bluff, like calling your bluff, worked on me at least, because it doesn't make sense not to do it. And it's so cheap.
Well, the 5 gigabytes should be enough to back up like contacts, settings.
Those are already backed up without needing to go. Like those are backed up through iCloud, but they're not using storage in the traditional sense.
So what else on the devices are you backing up?
Like app data, books, music.
Okay, so that's what I was getting at. So app data, like okay, books and music. I mean, like music.
So when I say music, I mean the list of the music that you like, your library with links to music that's stored on their servers, like your library, quote unquote. It's not actually the physical music that's backed up because it's already saved. Like they already have a copy of it. They don't need to keep a copy for me.
I just feel like the important stuff should be under 5 gigabytes.
It's not. You'd think it would be, but it just isn't. Okay. The backup is taking up 8.5 gigabytes for me. I actually have 5 gigabytes of files in my iCloud drive, like just my regular files. 17.3 gigs is photos. I have some health data that's backed up, which is relatively important. Things like GarageBand files. And then apps now have the ability, now that they have this iCloud drive, apps have the ability to save specific files into this storage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have apps doing that. But my actual phone, if I threw it in a river right now, every single thing, like I could restore it and it would look exactly the same.
Okay, so my iCloud backup right now is for my work phone is of 424 megabytes.
Okay, but you don't use it for anything.
Right, so I'm trying to figure out like what else, like if I use it for anything, it'd be for stuff that would be quote unquote backed up in other places. Like all my photos, if this is my main photo taking device, like I delete my main photos off my phone anyway. But even if they weren't, they'd be back up to, even if they weren't, they'd be backed up to Google Drive already or Google Photos. So why would they need to be backed up by iCloud as well?
It's mostly convenience,
Rob,
and peace of mind having multiple, like being able to go and access it on, like having it not on my phone, but being able to go and download the full version without having to go back to like what is ostensibly an offsite backup.
Why not at that rate just pay for the full resolution backups on Google Photos?
Because that's more expensive.
Is it?
Yes. Because I'd have to go to the next tier up. Like we're talking about like 10 years of pictures.
Maybe. I don't know. It guess it depends on how many you have, but
it makes sense for me and for our family to have this just for if you hit that 5 gigabytes every day and you actually want to have a full device backup, it just makes sense to have this turned on.
Mm-hmm. And worst case, it's just redundant.
Right. The photo part is absolutely redundant, but I'm okay with that because I actually want my photos backed up redundantly. Like even on multiple, like if, for example, Google Photos was to not close completely, but say like, oh, we're not going to let this be free unlimited anymore, like it has been, then it would mean over the 1 or 2 months or whatever it is, scrambling to figure out how I'm going to keep copies of my pictures. Like it's peace of mind of having systems in place to protect me against data loss.
Right.
And the photos aren't the only aspect that I get. I just get photos backed up out of this. Like the main thing for me is peace of mind, where if something happens to the phone, I can go in and get like quickly. It's almost like insurance or warranty, but for your data,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm not technically, like if my phone falls in the lake and I don't have the iCloud backup, I'm not losing any data technically, but I'm gonna have to spend the better part of a day putting all my stuff back where it was.
Right. No, and that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out, because when I went from my 5S,
5S to SE.
yeah, that's what it was,
Yeah, I
right? Yeah.
think so.
Or was it 5? I feel like it was 5 to SE. Yeah, it was 5. I didn't have the 5S. I don't think. Anyway,
Did you have Touch ID? That's the
no, I didn't.
delineator. Okay.
No.
Well, then it's
Yeah.
5.
Yeah. So 5 to SE, I just turned it on, said backup from iCloud, and it effectively was the exact same phone.
Right.
Like,
So you
I couldn't
didn't
tell.
use more than 5 gigs.
No, exactly. So
Whereas I did.
I'm like, what else would I have needed to have backed up? But I guess
So
if you're saying photos, then fine. But
I had photos backup entirely turned off, and it still was over 5 gigs. Like you just fill the space
with what?
with stuff. The backup itself was more than 5 gigs. Like even just backing it up, not including the photos.
Hmm.
The photos, like in iCloud, the photo backup is different from the phone backup, and
Like,
they were both over 5.
is it backing up the full size of every app installed too?
No,
Like, it should be just back up a list of apps and then
and the
re-download them.
data from them.
Right. And re-download them once you restore it. And put the icons back in the same place they were on your home screen.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm still struggling to figure out what would take up that space. But I take your word for it, but it's just I still can't figure out what it is that you'd need backed up.
My current iPhone is backed up. There's 1.8 gigabytes backed up. Some of these things I fully am questioning as well. So for instance, I'm waiting for it to show the list of all. This is actually kind of funny to walk through. Because I haven't cared about this in a while, I haven't gone through and trimmed anything. So this is just the full amount of data that apps back up. But the Weather Network is backing up 363 megabytes of data. I don't know what that is.
Historical, like, weather almanac.
Yeah. So there's things like Instapaper keeps a backup. Facebook keeps things backed up. Gboard keeps things backed up. Chrome Messenger.
So like Gboard I can
it.
understand because has it's machine learning of your typing and all that kind of stuff, right? Your suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
But like Facebook, why do you need a Facebook backup?
What's caches?
Why would I care if that's backed up? Just like know that I wanted it installed and where it was on my home screen. I don't care if it's in this timelines in the same place it was.
So right now, you're debating the infrastructure of backing things up, and I'm not having that debate.
Okay.
I'm just saying that for me, hitting the 5 gigabyte limit on each device was really annoying, and being able to back up, like the fact that you only get 5 gigs total we had 4 devices that were all trying to be constrained under 10 gigs under both our 2 accounts, just made sense to pay $350 or $399 a month and get 200 gigabytes of space to have everything saved.
Right. No, and I fully understand and appreciate how much apps can take space. Mm-hmm. Like when I had, a 2 gigabyte phone, a 4 gigabyte phone, a 16, like I was at all those levels as smartphones progressed. Yeah. And or 8, I guess. I don't think it was ever at 16. But like my Nexus 4, that was an 8 gigabyte phone, not including the OS. So after the OS, it was probably like 5 or 4 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was, a constant struggle to stay under that capacity. So no, if it's backing up all of that, like the same amount that you'd see on the phone, then for sure. But I still think that's crazy. But I guess it's its own discussion.
I mean, we have blown the lid off the Weather Network's amazing cache bloat. Like, why does a weather app need to store historical data worth 363 megabytes? I'm not sure what that is, and I'd be curious to know. But that wasn't, I can tell you honestly, like when I signed up for this, I was over 5 gigs. And that was after already having pruned everything that was redundant, like that being an example of something that's totally redundant. You don't need
Yeah.
any weather data backed up on your phone. All I'd need is like, I want to keep Ottawa as a location in the
Yeah, no,
weather app.
exactly. Like you
Yeah.
don't need anything else.
Yeah. The last thing, so you're going to love this because it gets even more redundant. I also pay for OneDrive. This is mostly as a subscription to Office 365. So I get all the
Right. Yeah.
suite of Office applications on my computer at home and my laptop. This is mostly just because it makes things way easier for me at work because I can have OneDrive installed on my work computer. So I can, if I need to work on something from home and it's not confidential or anything like that, I can just put it in my OneDrive and I'll know
Right.
that I can access it.
Do they restrict what you can put? Like aside from
No,
your own relying on you specifically, are there restrictions from what you can put in OneDrive like that? Because you said
no.
as long as it's not confidential, like they trust you to know what's confidential,
Yes.
right?
You can take, like, you can email a document, like, you're only as secure as your least secure thing. We have email on our
Right.
computers. So there's no, like, all they can do is block malware sites, like, or sites that they think could contain malware.
Right.
So yeah, because these computers are Windows machines and the default is for an app made by Microsoft to go through. So OneDrive is not blocked.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, what I'm relying on. So I pay for that. It's $11.99 a month. And that gets me all the apps, including all the updates. Like it just cycles through and then gets me 1 terabyte of space as well. So that's again, like I said, mostly where I keep my work files. But if I have a need for a file that's
Right.
massive and I don't want to put it on Google Drive, then I'll just throw it on there as well.
Right. I do wish, and I don't know, it's one of those things that maybe I'll try to push for at work, but like being a smaller office, there's a bit more flexibility. But right now, the only way we manage offsite access of files is through remote access, like remote desktop. I mean, that's in another category, but we're talking about it now. But basically just remoting in from wherever you are and going on the network that way. But it would be nice to have some sort of like, I guess it's an FTP server or setup where you can kind of just navigate through a file path or folder structure to grab a file and like either view it or send it somewhere. Because that's like most of the time when I'm accessing like remoting in offsite, like it's just to get a file, like to either look at it or send it to someone. Like I don't normally have to like use the application on my computer.
Okay. You just want the file.
I just want the file. I'd say like 50% of the time. It's 50-50.
Okay.
So so that would be good. And I guess like the OneDrive kind of solves that if that's the route you go. And does it work the same way as the Google Drive backup where you can select which files on the computer to consider as yeah. So
they also have, I haven't used the algorithm that can decide what you don't actually need on like downloaded to your desktop. So like keep everything in the cloud and like selectively download and open stuff as you need it to save space on your desktop. But I don't really need that space saving. So I haven't dealt with that, but so because I have a Windows computer, when I installed iCloud on the iCloud desktop application for Windows on my computer, it decided that it was going to put its downloaded photos cache, like the photos that are saved to iCloud, in OneDrive, which means that they are also redundantly being backed up to OneDrive as well as iCloud, which I find so funny. Because I didn't really choose that, but I obviously said okay to it at some point. So that is being kept on my computer, not on my external hard drive. So at some point I'll have to change that because my SSD is just filling up with photo backups that are like a third or fourth potentially accidental redundant backup. Don't actually need another copy of this on my fast storage. At worst, I can put that on my external drive. But
the one thing that I'm thinking now that we don't have backed up is like our security. Like we have an IP camera for our house, and like it's just looking outside, but like we have it live recording, or not live recording, but backing, or on a NVR type thing, and it's recording onto an external hard drive right now, which isn't backed up. Technically, that hard drive isn't network connected. So we can't, just the way that the IP camera's system is, it doesn't work with like a network connected storage. But so I'd have to just plug that into the computer to back it up. I guess a Backblaze kind of thing, where you have to just have it attached every, is it 30 days? If you have a if drive link to Backblaze.
Or 30.
Okay. But either way, just however regularly, just attach it so that Backblaze can see it.
It almost seems like, why wouldn't you just plug it in? Like leave it plugged in, but you do.
Well, because no, but again, the way that it's set up, so you have the IP camera on the network, and you put the network video recorder on the network, which is like its own proprietary device that works with the camera, and then you put the external drive into that device. But the network can't actually see that specific drive.
Can't see that drive.
It sees the recorder, but it doesn't see the drive. Which
that's not great.
Yeah. Well, but it's
fine,
it's the only option to check your camera remotely.
It's not great on them. Not It's fine for you as a customer. It's just not ideal. But it's bad on them, not bad on you.
It's what we have to work with. But but again, like if it's not a huge deal, like the camera's more there for like peace of mind and just checking on stuff. Like if it's lost, if the footage lost, like it's not a big deal. Like so
unless it's that critical 3 minutes of footage for someone to get in and out.
It's true.
So do you want to, are there any things other than the productivity section which we have completely missed that you want to talk about? Do you want to finish this as a 2-parter next month?
I feel like at that point, I don't know. Did we? I think we mentioned Gboard for backup. I don't know if it's worth as like a after.
Well,
thought we can talk about Gboard, because I've said how I like Gboard for what it does from like a swipe typing and just the premise of it, but like its prediction is very bad for me. Like it's prediction, but just it's when it chooses to autocomplete or correct something, it's like, why did you do that? Like I typed it that way for a reason. Like
you were saying that, I have never had that experience. I've found it to be very, very, very good in terms of like, I can just swipe gibberish and it'll be like, yes, you wanted to say the word unconditionally. And I'm like, you're right. How did you know that? I barely hit any of those letters.
See, and I've had a very opposite experience. Like when I notice it performing, it's not because it's doing things well. It's because like, why would you do that? Like I'll type something and I'm like, I'll be like one letter off and I'll just leave it as the gibberish that I typed. Like maybe I don't have the right setting checked off to like fix stuff. I'll have to double check, but like I'll swipe whatever. It's like, you know what I meant? Like, why would you put that there? And sometimes I'll be actually typing, like not swiping, but I'll type like well, like WELL.
Yeah.
And it will autocorrect to wheel.
Right.
Like WE'LL. And it's like, you don't even know what I'm going to type next. Like this is before I've even typed my second word.
Right.
Or sometimes I'll do like WELL and then type my second word and it will autocorrect to wheel.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't want to say that. Like, don't tell me what I meant. But anyway, that's you mentioned before about the pukey face. So I put that there. I put that there just more out of a joke because I saw you put one there.
Yeah.
But
I
if I had to pick one as a pukey one, it's like I'm using it, but because the native Samsung keyboard doesn't do swipe typing, and I had tried swipe.
Key? Have you tried Swift Key?
Is it Swift Key or Swipe? I don't remember now, actually. I've tried one of those.
Okay.
And I didn't like the look of it. Again, I didn't spend much time customizing it, but
Swift Key is the one that Microsoft bought. a couple of years ago. It was the one I used to use before Gboard came out, and then I threw it in the garbage immediately when Gboard came out and haven't looked back.
Okay.
Did I tell you that I tried to I tried to swipe on a physical keyboard to type one time a couple weeks ago?
Oh, I think you sent a message about that.
Like it did not work. That's so weird.
Did you just like start moving your hand around or like why aren't letters coming up?
Yes, that is
Okay.
actually what happened.
Yeah.
My brain is fundamentally broken.
Yeah. That's like when you have a toddler who's interacted with phones
Yeah.
and then they'll go to a TV and start touching things. It's like I totally see why you're doing that. It's like why wouldn't you touch something on a screen? Like
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. So I feel like at this point, having mentioned your issue with Gboard, I feel like you should just go in and burn it all down and start over. That's just my official advice for machine learning things. It's
you mean like uninstall? Let's see, it's linked to your Google account though, isn't it?
You can link it to your Google account, but there's a thing in settings where it's like reset usage, reset all. Like when I say burn it down, I mean like hit all the reset buttons.
Right.
Because you're not losing anything. You didn't have anything saved in Gboard. It's all just the machine learning you want to burn down.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, what if we do a rapid, just mention one line of things that are still on your list that you didn't get a chance to mention? Sure.
I'll list, let's say 3 things.
Well, I'm not going to list 3 things. I'll list more than 3, but you can list 3 if you want.
Okay, so these would all be considered miscellaneous. Actually, I'll start with Google Keep, because I use that enough to be worth mentioning. Good quick note taking and just putting whatever you want in there and looking it up later if you need to. Again, Google Calendar, Inbox, obvious stuff for an Android or just general Google user. Outlook for work, for calendar and email. Again, obvious when you're in an enterprise environment. As far as miscellaneous stuff, IFTTT, which you didn't have. I was surprised by that, and maybe you just don't use it enough to be worth mentioning. But for me, I use it more on the back end for triggers. Like I don't use it directly, but it's there running.
That's why it's not there for me.
Stuff. Really but you still use it. It's a service.
It uses itself.
LastPass for password management. Twilight is an app on Android and maybe iOS. I don't know.
Did Twilight get rid of the persistent notification that tells you that it's on all the time? Because that was why I uninstalled it.
No, it's there. So maybe it's the newest version of Android, but it hides persistent notifications.
Okay.
Like by default. But when you swipe, actually, let me make sure I'm describing this correctly. On the lock screen, it hides persistent notifications until you pull down.
Oh, okay.
And then it will show what ones, the persistent ones that are there. But on an ongoing basis, when you just interact in the regular UI, then it does keep it there.
Right.
And again, I think that's just like the silly way that Android works.
Yep, it is.
So LastPass I use for password management. I mentioned that. Okay, Twilight, RealCalc for calculator when I need it. Again, that was just the first kind of non-Android or non-stock calculator I downloaded, and it's been good.
Sure.
No complaints there. Samsung Health is just the native app on my phone that does the fitness tracking, and it works well with my watch, so I use that. Sleep as Android is the associated alarm clock app that works with my watch very well, and as far as I can tell, is the only one that works with my watch. Like it has its own gear app, so it doesn't rely on pushing a notification to the watch. It actually has an app on the watch that does its own thing, which is good for an alarm, because the other alarms on my phone, they'll send a notification, so it'll like vibrate and then will stop. It won't continue vibrating, except for like the native Samsung alarm app does, but it doesn't let you dismiss upcoming alarms.
Right.
But this Sleep as Android does let you dismiss upcoming alarms. So that's why I use that. I think that's pretty much the only ones that I can think of worth mentioning. I guess like Stocard is another one that I've used, which you can put in like membership cards, like your Safeway card or Air Miles or whatever, and it will put like a digital barcode. So I guess it functions the same way as Wallet does. Yeah. But you can't do that on Android right now.
Right.
I don't think you can.
Some places might be able to do it, but it's in my experience in Canada, at least, it's almost empty all the
Yeah.
time for everyone.
But like with Stocard, like you can put in a library card and it will put like a digital
So
barcode on there.
it will
And
literally just eat up a number, add a descriptive title, and
yep.
print out a barcode.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
And
interesting.
you can include like a picture of the card
Okay,
with it.
that's cool.
So yeah, no, I've liked that. I actually haven't gotten around to refilling it since I reset my phone because I
You
didn't
should
realize.
probably back up your stuff.
Well, so I put back Stocard. I'm like, why is this empty? And then I went to settings. It's like, oh, log in. And I don't think I'd actually ever set up like an account
Oh,
on
right.
it. It just let me use it without it. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn it. Like, screw the pooch on that. It's those things like when you reset a phone, like
Yeah.
I had time. I could have backed it up if I
Oh,
wanted.
yeah,
I just
definitely.
didn't think I'd need to.
Yep.
It's like, what do you mean? The same thing happened with S Note. Like I had a bunch of stuff
Okay.
in S Note, but thankfully it was being like backed up to Evernote or
Oh,
something.
interesting. Okay.
So when I factory reset my phone, I went into S Note, it wasn't there. So then I was like, oh, import from Evernote. Actually, it said import from my Samsung account, and it didn't show up.
Mhm.
I was like, import from Evernote. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I set up an Evernote account, so I'll just try that.
Mhm.
And all my other notes like showed up.
Oh, weird.
And I was like, okay, well, it works, I guess. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, those are the other ones. Again, like nothing like super crazy. Like I don't,
Right.
you know, they're not like underground, unheard of apps. They're all apps
No,
everyone's
yeah.
probably heard of. But
Mhm.
what about you? What are your quick hits?
My main quick hits are I would recommend, obviously, like the least quick hitty of all the quick hits, Google Chrome for my browsing. Like all the Google stuff, like you mentioned. I'm not an Android user, but I'm in the Google life. So all the Google stuff. I said I pay for Microsoft Office every month, along with that storage. I pay for Creative Cloud every month. I've been doing that for like 4 years. I highly recommend that if you are an aspiring or recreational or professional creative person, just because it gives you access to all these amazing tools for relative massive discount, and you don't have to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars in advance for software that you'll be wanting to update with new features every couple of years. I found that to be an amazing investment, even though I've paid probably over $1,000 over the last 4 years. It's been well worth that monthly cost. If you went to university, you can log in as a student and get a discount on the Creative Cloud suite. And then eventually the discount, quote unquote, wears off, but it doesn't go back to full price. You still get a slightly, like, relatively pretty good discounted price. So I've been milking that for all it's worth for years. The exchange rate kills me a lot because it used to be pretty much equal between the US and Canada, but now it is not. So the price of that has steadily risen over the last few years, but well worth having all those apps if you do creative stuff. So if you use Photoshop or Illustrator or Audition or Premiere like I do. So highly recommend that. The other few that I'll mention, we talked about Backblaze a little bit. I use Backblaze. I highly recommend, again, using a promo code and signing up for 2 years of backup, because I think I pay like $2 a month for backup over a 2-year period, which is just like, it was such a ridiculous discount. Right. Why wouldn't you do that?
You actually had to use Backblaze's restore at one point, didn't you? Yeah.
My hard drive just stopped working.
Yeah. And that seemed to work okay?
It wasn't as, because it's not very well laid out, unless you want them to ship you a hard drive, which I really didn't want to deal with. It's a little annoying to restore your files, because there's a hard limit where it won't let you export more than 2 terabytes, I believe. Was it? There's some hard file limit that it won't let you have to choose a bunch of files. It will zip them all into a file for you, and then you download that zip file. But while you're selecting which files you want to recover into that zip file, there is a hard limit that it won't let you make the zip file any bigger than, but it doesn't ever indicate to you what that limit is. It just tells you that you've hit it after you try to do it.
Yeah. I ran into the same thing with like sending an email with attachments in Outlook. And I think it was their server side limit.
Right.
That it just bounced back the email. but it said, oh, exceeded limit, but it didn't say what the limit was.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had thankfully sent 2 emails. One went through, one didn't. So I'm like, okay, well, I know the limit is at least this high.
Yeah.
So I was like, I guess I'll just break up my attachments into that high, but it's like, just say what the limit is.
So it was very hard. Once I found that limit, it was pretty easy to it was just a lot of, like, again, make sure you have unlimited bandwidth when you're doing this. But
right.
Once you found that limit, it was just a matter of chunking it into reasonable sizes that are close to that limit and downloading all your stuff. Again, if you're a creative person and you like the internet, like I do, I highly recommend getting a virtual private server to play around with. I've ended up moving 5 of my websites, basically all my sites that I manage, onto just a Linux distribution, just WordPress. The site that I use, the service I use is called DigitalOcean, but there are a bunch of different services that offer VPSs for reasonable prices. For $5 a month, like, this has been such a great investment on learning how to use stuff on the web with a server. So I highly recommend that. You mentioned doing stuff like banking with storing your cards. Apple Wallet is really great if you're an iOS user. I find people don't really pay with their phones that much. Mostly, I think, in Canada, because tap to pay with your card is so easy. But for me, I want to throw my card away and never use it again and just tap everywhere, because first of all, you don't have to carry a wallet around. But second of all, you get to authenticate. You don't just have your open authentication laying around the house or in your pocket. I found the security aspect of that very satisfying. And it's the kind of thing where once you've set it up, you don't really have to think about it. You just put your thumbprint or put your face, if you have the iPhone 10, put your face in front of the phone to recognize it. And then you can just pay for whatever, in the thought that it's entirely secure.
Coming back, and it's a separate topic altogether, but you talk about authentication, and, like, in my experience and understanding, credit card companies are pretty lenient when it comes to saying this wasn't me that made this purchase. So in the unlikely circumstance you do lose your card and purchases are made with it via the tap to pay, like, they'd say, I lost my card here, so they just charge back all those purchases and cancel your card. Like, so the risk is fairly low, if not zero.
It's mostly just that's super annoying. If I lost my credit card, I would have to go and reset like 50 different things that I pay for online.
Right.
All the recurring charges, I would have to go and change the information. I just don't want to it's not like it would be massively damaging financially. It would just be really, really annoying to lose the information, have it stolen.
For sure.
The last one I'll mention is the transit app, Transit, that we've talked about. Like we talked about wireless transfer. Transit, the app that shows you public transit information, is amazing. It's developed by Canadians, so if that interests you, they're out of Montreal. I've just found it to be a super interesting app. Like, again, I talked about people using their wallet to pay for stuff, like old-timey 10, 20, 30-year-old technology. With Transit, I find people still text their stop number to an SMS service and get the times back. I don't understand. If you have a smartphone, I don't understand why you wouldn't. Like, the GPS location of bus services in most major cities is available. Why wouldn't you look at a map and see exactly where the bus is, rather than texting and getting a number of minutes until it gets there back?
Right. I think because people don't either realize or trust that the map, whether it's Google or Transit, because Transit, I think, uses the Google backend.
Transit uses the transit authorities,
right?
APIs.
And Google uses the transit authorities as well. So I guess maybe it's not Transit using Google, but they're both using the same source. So whether you use Google or Transit, I think it does the showing the bus on the map versus Google, which doesn't. It just
Google I would never use, because
well, Google shows you the time still. It
shows you the time, but the time isn't what I want to know. Like, the time is a piece of information, but anyway, I want to actually see it live on the map. That's what I want.
Point being is that people probably don't know that they use the same information, right? So I think that's more just education that people need to, like, like when you look up on Google or Transit, the Transit app, it it's the same information you'd get if you called or texted that number.
Yes.
So but no, I completely agree. And I use trip planning on Google all the time, and I've actually used their when we were traveling in New York to look up like subway schedules and that kind of thing. Yeah, no, I've been using Google Transit functionality
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah. The Google, it's fine. But for any transit, I only use it to see what bus I need to take to get to a place. And like if I'm leaving for work, for instance, and I know I'm taking the bus, I go and I look, and I'm not gonna, especially in the winter, I'm not gonna leave the house unless I know there's a bus coming. So I wait until I see that there's an actual bus that's like
Right.
8 minutes away, and then I start walking.
The good thing about Transit app is that, and what Google doesn't do, is it shows the schedules a lot better. Like it has that kind of cool layout where it'll have, okay, if you catch it here, like at this time, this is the window that you'll be traveling. And then you can kind of keep seeing, okay, if you leave this late, this is your window, this is the buses you take. So you can kind of plan your trip a lot better. And the Google Maps obviously doesn't do that. So, but no, there's definitely a lot more pros to using Transit for sure. Transit app. Transit.
So I'll mention the words Facebook Messenger. Use that app because it's amazing. But other than that, I think we're done here. Do you have any last words? I'm done here. You can.
I think that covers it. Like we've talked about messaging, I think, on this show before, so I don't think we need to go over that again.
Yeah.
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, that was a lovely State of the Apps 2019. That does us for another year. Because it is 2018, we're looking forwards, right? You gotta use that one full year forwards.
I think that's cheating a bit because we're at the beginning of 2018, so it's almost 2 years ahead. Cheating.
Some might consider it industrious. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for this show. Mike, let's do an after show.
What's our after show?
I don't know. Maybe there's no after show.
Maybe there's not. I noticed you didn't comment on, maybe you didn't notice the Zelda Breath of the Wild entry on there.
Oh, I thought about it a lot.
Did you?
Do you want to tell me you got a Nintendo Switch as an after show?
I got it for my birthday.
Okay.
Maria got it for us. Well, for me. And then it's actually a funny story. She's like, I started calling it like my Nintendo. She's like, what do you mean you're a Nintendo? I'm like, you got it for my birthday. It's mine. and I don't know, it was just a joke. It's like, oh yeah, know, I'll let you guys use it.
Yeah.
She's like, it was for us. I'm like, it was for my birthday. But no, I've been working my way through Zelda. I don't play it daily. I barely play it weekly, but I'll sit down for a couple hours and play through it, and it's fun.
The upside to this is that you can, in whatever, I guess the next note won't come out for a while, but you can be like, I got us the Note 9 for your birthday, Maria. There you go. Oh, I'm just gonna actually, okay, is that fine?
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly.
It's a bad precedent set.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have never played with the Switch. I'm not really a big video game person.
Yeah.
But yeah, people really seem to like it, and so you are liking it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so I got Zelda, and then we got Mario Kart, so we're all playing Mario Kart, so that's fun. We got Super Mario Odyssey, and so there's like a 2-player mode with that kind of thing, so we've been doing that every so often. My plan is once I finish, if I ever finish Zelda, I'll work my way through Super Mario Odyssey on my own, just my own campaign.
Right.
And we got like a Pokemon battling called Pokken Tournament, and it's kind of like a Tekken style fighting. I think it's made by the same people who make Tekken. And so that's fun. Don't really play that much though, because I don't play them a lot of time at all on the Switch right now. Like again, a couple hours a week. So I'm usually playing Zelda when I play. I'm looking forward to the next Pokemon handheld version coming out, and that's supposed to come out for the Switch. So I was hoping that would actually come out sooner than later. But right now it's kind of like it's up in the air as far as when it's coming out, but people are pretty sure there is one coming out. It's just the last one they released, the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they released for the 3DS, not for the Switch.
Right.
So the anticipation is that the next one will be for the Switch. So.
And is that Generation 8?
Yeah, that would be Gen 8.
Okay.
So.
Hopefully this doesn't become a Game of Thrones situation where they stop releasing Pokemon and it's like, oh, when's the next generation coming out? We're catching up with Pogo.
Well, oh yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point there. At this rate, I don't think that's going to happen because I think Pogo is not even yearly. But I guess Pokemon
every year
itself hasn't been yearly because they're only on Gen 7 and Gen 1 came in like mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
We should probably record our ads or something.
I guess. Well, in that case, I'll say goodbye to the broadcast. Thanks for listening.